Does this sound familiar? You're exhausted. Not from work, not from life, but from loving someone who always seems just out of reach. You reach out, they pull away, you speak up, they go silent. You pour your heart into the relationship and get nothing but distance in return. You start asking yourself, is something wrong with me? But here's what you need to hear right now. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You have been fighting a battle that was never meant for you to fight alone, and today that changes. You clicked on this video for a reason. Maybe you feel like you're slowly disappearing in your own relationship. Maybe you keep making excuses for their silence, their emotional distance, their inability to be truly present with you. Maybe you have started to wonder if you will ever feel truly connected to them. And the worst part? You have started to sabotage things yourself. You pick fights because at least then you feel something. You pull away first because you are tired of always being the one who reaches. You have begun to convince yourself that maybe this is all you deserve. I need you to stop right now, because what you are experiencing is not a mystery. It is a pattern, and every pattern can be broken. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly why your relationship with an avoidant partner feels so painful. I am going to explain the psychological trap that keeps both of you stuck. And most importantly, I am going to give you a powerful step-by-step framework to finally break that pattern without losing yourself in the process. You are not going to get generic relationship advice here. You are not going to hear the same cliches about communication and setting boundaries. What you are going to get is something far more powerful. You are going to get the truth about what is really happening inside the mind of someone who fears intimacy. And more importantly, you are going to learn how to stop reacting to their behavior and start creating the connection you have always deserved. Here is what I need you to do. Watch every single second of this video, because the answers you have been searching for are not in the first 2 minutes. They are in the details. They are in the science. They are in the exact words and actions that will transform the way you show up in this relationship. By the time this video ends, you will not only understand your partner better, you will understand yourself better. You will finally know why you have been repeating the same painful cycle over and over again. And most importantly, you will have a clear, practical roadmap to break free from that cycle and build something real. This is not about fixing them. This is not about chasing them. This is about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to chase anyone. This is about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your emotional wholeness. So take a breath, let go of the doubt, and get ready to finally understand what has been holding you back all along. You made the right decision clicking this video. Now let us get to work. Let me ask you something. When your partner pulls away, what goes through your mind? Do you convince yourself that they simply had a bad day? Do you tell yourself that if you just loved them a little harder, a little better, they would finally open up? Do you keep searching for the perfect words, the perfect approach, the perfect version of yourself that would make them choose closeness over distance? If you answered yes to any of that, I need you to understand something that might change everything for you. You have been trying to solve a problem that cannot be solved with more love, not because your love is not enough, but because the problem does not live in your love. The problem lives in their programming. And until you understand what that programming actually is, you will keep spinning in circles, blaming yourself, and slowly losing pieces of who you are. Here is what you are really dealing with. You are dealing with someone who has an avoidant attachment style. Now, I know that might sound like psychological jargon, but stick with me because this is the foundation of everything we are going to cover together. Attachment styles are basically the emotional blueprints that we develop in early childhood. They shape how we connect, how we communicate, and how we respond when someone gets emotionally close to us. Most people develop a secure attachment style. They can be vulnerable, they can depend on others, they can handle intimacy without panicking, but some people develop an avoidant attachment style. And here is what that looks like in real life. They grew up learning that emotions were not safe, that asking for help was weakness, that self-reliance was the only real strength. So they built a wall around their heart, not because they do not want to love, but because love for them has always felt dangerous. And when you came along, when you started showing up with warmth and openness and genuine emotional presence, their system went into panic mode. Not because of you, but because everything you represent triggers the deepest fear they have ever known. That fear is simple. It is the fear of losing themselves in another person, the fear of being consumed, the fear of needing someone so badly that they become nothing. So what do? They create distance. They deflect with sarcasm. They disappear when things get real. They tell you they need space when what they really need is to feel safe enough to stay. And here is where you come in, because your nervous system is responding to their withdrawal, and the way you respond might actually be making everything worse. When they pull away, you naturally move closer. That is normal. That is human. That is what love does. But for someone with an avoidant attachment style, your closeness feels like a threat. And the more you pursue, the more they retreat. The more they retreat, the more desperate you become. And the cycle continues deeper and deeper until both of you feel completely trapped. You feel trapped because you are constantly chasing someone who cannot let you in. And they feel trapped because they are constantly being pushed toward a closeness they do not know how to handle. This is not a battle of love versus no love. This is a battle of two different emotional worlds colliding, and you have been fighting this battle blindfolded. Now, let me be very clear about something. Understanding avoidant attachment does not excuse bad behavior. It does not give anyone permission to treat you with disrespect or emotional cruelty. It simply gives you the map you have been missing. The map that explains why things keep falling apart. The map that tells you why your efforts keep failing. The map that shows you exactly where the pattern began and how to finally break it. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not expecting too much. You have simply been trying to build a bridge to someone who does not yet know how to cross it. And that is exactly what we are going to fix. Not by pushing them harder. Not by waiting for them to change on their own, but by shifting everything about the way you show up in this relationship. The power was always in your hands. You just did not know how to use it. And in the next section, I am going to show you the exact psychological shift that changes everything. Stay with me. This is where it gets real. I want to pause for a moment and talk about you, not your partner, not the relationship, you. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped asking yourself one very important question. How am I actually doing in this? You have been so focused on understanding them, on managing their emotions, on walking on eggshells to avoid triggering their withdrawal, that you have completely lost sight of yourself. And that is the most dangerous thing you can do in any relationship. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine that every time you reach out for emotional connection, you get nothing. Every time you express a need, it gets dismissed or minimized. Every time you try to have a real conversation about the relationship, they shut down or deflect. How long do you think you could keep your head above water before something inside you starts to drown? That is the reality you have been living in, and I need you to feel the weight of that. The anxiety does not just disappear when your partner goes silent. It lives in your body. It keeps you up at night replaying conversations, analyzing every word, every tone, every small shift in their behavior. You wake up already feeling depleted before the day even begins. Your mind is stuck in a loop of worry, doubt, and desperate attempts to figure out what you did wrong this time. And the worst part is that no one around you fully understands what you are going through. They see you with your partner and think everything looks fine. They do not see the quiet desperation you feel when they take 3 hours to respond to a simple text. They do not see the way your heart sinks when they cancel plans at the last minute with some vague excuse. They do not see the invisible exhaustion that follows you everywhere you go. But I see it. And I want you to know that what you are experiencing is real. It is valid. And it is taking a serious toll on your mental and emotional well-being. Here is what happens to people who stay in this pattern too long. They start to doubt their own reality. They begin to believe the lie that their needs are unreasonable. They normalize emotional unavailability because they have been living with it for so long. They sacrifice their own identity piece by piece, shrinking themselves to fit into the small space their partner allows them to occupy. You might not even realize it is happening, but somewhere deep down, you have been abandoning yourself. You've been abandoning your own needs, your own desires, your own sense of self. And that abandonment is creating a void inside you that no amount of love from your partner can fill. This is where sabotage comes in, because when you feel powerless in a relationship, your brain starts looking for ways to regain control. And the way most people do that is by creating chaos. You pick a fight because at least then you get an emotional reaction. You withdraw because you are tired of always being the one who chases. You make yourself unavailable because if you cannot be truly close to them, you might as well not be there at all. But here is the brutal truth. Sabotage feels like power, but it is actually the opposite. It keeps you trapped. It keeps you reacting. It keeps you stuck in a cycle that erodes your self-worth a little more with every round. You have to break free from this pattern, not just for the health of the relationship, but for the health of your own mind and soul. And the first step is something most people refuse to do. You have to stop pouring from an empty cup. You have to stop giving what you do not have. You have to reclaim the parts of yourself that you have lost in this dynamic. Because here is what nobody tells you. You cannot make your partner feel safe if you do not feel safe yourself. You cannot help them heal if you are falling apart. You cannot build a healthy connection from a place of depletion and desperation. The shift you are about to learn in the next section is not about manipulating your partner or playing games. It is about rebuilding yourself from the inside out. It is about becoming so grounded, so centered, so emotionally whole that their avoidance no longer has the power to destabilize you. That is when everything changes. That is when the pattern finally breaks. And that is when you either transform this relationship or free yourself to find something better. The choice is yours, but you can only make it from a place of strength. Let me show you exactly how to get there. Let me tell you about the one mistake that is holding you back more than anything else. You have been trying to fix this relationship from the outside in. You have been focused entirely on them, their behavior, their responses, their mood shifts, their ability to show up for you. And every time they fail to meet your expectations, you feel like the whole world is crumbling. But here is what you have been missing. You cannot control them. You never could. And every attempt you have made to push them toward closeness has only pushed them further away. Not because your intentions were wrong, but because your approach was built on a foundation that was never going to hold. Let me explain what I mean. Think about what happens when your partner pulls away. Your natural instinct is to reach out. You send them a message asking if everything is okay. You try to start a conversation. You express concern or frustration or hurt. And what do you get in return? More silence, more distance, more of the same cold withdrawal that left you feeling abandoned in the first place. Now think about what happens inside your own mind during these moments. You start spiraling. You convince yourself that you did something wrong. You replay the last conversation trying to figure out what you said that set them off. You desperately search for a way to fix things and restore the connection you both so desperately need. That is the trap. And it is a trap that keeps you completely disempowered. You have been operating from the assumption that if you just find the right words, the right approach, the right behavior, your partner will finally open up and give you what you need. But that assumption is fundamentally flawed, because you cannot make someone feel safe when they are not ready to feel safe. You cannot force intimacy on someone who is terrified of it, and you cannot heal their wounds no matter how much love you pour into the void. So what is the actual solution? It starts with understanding something that will completely reframe the way you think about this relationship. The problem was never that you were not doing enough. The problem was that you were doing too much from a place of fear. Let that sink in for a moment. Every time you chased them, every time you begged for connection, every time you tried to force a conversation they were not ready to have, you were operating from a place of anxiety and scarcity. You were treating their withdrawal like an emergency. You were showing them, without meaning to, that your emotional stability depends entirely on their ability to be present with you. And that neediness, even though it comes from a place of genuine love, creates pressure. And pressure, for someone who is avoidant, feels like a threat, so they pull away even harder, and you chase even harder, and the cycle accelerates until neither of you can breathe. Here is the shift you need to make. You need to stop trying to manage their emotions and start managing your own. You need to stop treating their withdrawal as a problem to be solved and start treating it as what it actually is, a reflection of their internal struggle, not a commentary on your worth. When your partner pulls away, your job is not to pursue them. Your job is to stay grounded. Your job is to remain calm. Your job is to show up in your own life with full presence and commitment. Your job is to prove through your own actions that you are whole with or without their immediate availability. That is what stops the cycle. Not more effort, not more love, not more chasing. Less. Less desperation, less neediness, less dependence on their response to feel okay about yourself. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I know part of you is screaming that if you back off, you will lose them completely. But that fear is exactly what has been keeping you trapped. And I need you to understand something critical. The goal here is not to play games. The goal is not to make them feel your absence so they come running back. The goal is deeper than that. The goal is to become the kind of person who does not need anyone else to feel complete. The kind of person who can hold space for their partner's struggle without falling apart themselves. The kind of person who leads with strength, not fear. When you make that shift, something incredible happens. The relationship dynamic changes. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you changed the energy you were bringing to the table. And your partner feels that change even if they cannot explain it. This is how you break the pattern. This is how you finally stop being trapped. And this is how you create the foundation for something real. Now, in the next section, I'm going to show you the exact steps to implement this shift in your daily life. Not some abstract concept, but concrete, practical actions that will transform the way you show up in this relationship starting today. Stay with me. You are closer to freedom than you realize.